What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Kill coming back with another one. Today, I got some classic Sonic Simulator tier list for y'all. What is the most useless objects? Or how are we going to depict these objects? You know what I mean? Most of these objects we use on a daily basis, but some of these objects we don't. So I thought we'd be cool to do a little tier list of what objects get the most recognition. You know, let me change the tier list real quick. Alright, so for top, we have most used. We're going to count these as like the most used objects in the game. Used occasionally, we're gonna, they're used occasionally, time from time, barely and rarely. Simple as that. Starting off, we have Motorbug. I really feel like for all the enemies, but we're gonna go one at a time. Motorbug, he gets the recognition. He used occasionally, to be honest. Like, he's not used 24/7. If anybody's used a lot, we'll get to that in a second, but I'm over here already speeding past. Motorbug, we're gonna put him as used occasionally because he is the enemy for like those hills, mainly Green Hill, for you Green Hill people. Actually, I take that back. I use Motorbug a little often. I don't know about anybody else, but you know what I'm saying? If I'm making a level and I need those type of enemies, I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna say Motorbug uses. We use Motorbug a lot. Grasshopper. A lot of people don't use him. I use him for some sections, but he's not really used a lot. I would say he's used from time to time. He's not used a lot, but if there's a section with his name written on it, people are gonna use it. Bluminator. I think this is everybody's just favorite Batnik in the game, at least. He's ordinary. He's common. I would say used occasionally. A lot of people use Bluminator, but I would say Motorbug is being used more than Bluminator. I would say that, yeah. Blastoid, is this the underworld dude? Barely people use him unless it's an underwater section or Kaizo. A lot of people don't use him. I'm gonna put barely because not a lot of people use him. Correct me if I'm wrong. I barely use him. We have Jaws, the new Batnik in the game. I think a lot of people have been using him. I want to say most used, but I'll say used occasionally because he is a cool little like Batnik in the game. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad they added him in the game. Bubbles. I want to say a lot of people do use Bubbles, like used occasionally. I want to say he doesn't. He gets his time to shine, but I think it's all about placement. You barely get to see him because I think people put him super high because they think he's gonna, you know what I'm saying? But it's either between time to time and used occasionally. We're gonna put time from time just because I feel like people use him a lot more in underwater sections or underwater stages at that. Spiker or AKA fake Spiker. Barely, bro. A lot of people don't use you unless it's Kaizo related. I'm gonna be honest. At least in my experience, I don't. Not a lot of people use you, bro. I think we have another Blastoid, or what do you call Blaster, the tank guy. I would say used occasionally. A lot of people use Blaster. He's a solid entity. At first, when I played this game, I was like, bro, I don't like this entity. He just shoots upwards, and I don't know how to avoid it. Just don't jump. Just don't jump. But he's a smooth little Batnik. Next, we have the Astrons, the one that's like the star spike thing guys. I'm gonna say rarely. Yeah, a lot of people don't use you unless it's a Kaizo or a hard zone or it's a spam zone. Like you're not really a Batnik that everybody uses a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. You can leave down in the comments your opinion. Octus, used occasionally. I use Octus a lot, just because he's a straightforward Batnik. He's very smooth. He jumps and shoots. You know what I'm saying? If you don't move in time, you get hurt. Chop Chop. I feel like Chop Chop is very situational. Because you could put him in the sky and he'll, but it doesn't look right. So it's only situational in underwater sections. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. Again, still a solid Batnik, but I'm gonna say time from time. A lot of people don't use him. A lot of people don't use him. It depends. It depends on the situation the zone's in. You know what I mean? Ball Hog. Ball Hog uses occasionally. I would say used occasionally. He's a solid Batnik. You know what I'm saying? Solid Batnik. Big Bomb. Barely. Just because, again, Kaizo's or just a hard type zone or Metropolis type zone. That's the best way I could put it. A lot of people don't. When have you ever seen this Batnik in like Green Hill or Hilltop? Barely, right? Okay. Bat Brain. I was gonna say time from time, but Bat Brain kind of is used occasionally. He's used 24/7 somewhat. You can kind of catch him at least in every stage that you play in Class Sonic Simulator. No cap. Same goes with you. I don't know your name. I forgot your name, but I would say most used. Yeah, most used. You two are most used. Are you used more than Motorbug? Eh, Neutron. Used occasionally. Used occasionally. He's used in situations as well. Like unless your platform doesn't have a corner in it or like a hiding spot, that's usually where he's look good at. You know, he's not gonna. But a lot of people use him. I will say a lot of people use that entity. Well, I take that back. I'm gonna put in time to time. Just from time to time. I don't really see a lot. Well, no, I take that back. We're gonna go used occasionally because there. I take that back. We're gonna put him in there. Meat Crab again, most used, bro. I feel like these three are like the iconic Batniks of classic Sonic. Like you will at least see them in each zone, in every zone. Like no cap. Master and Chopper. I'm kind of gonna put these two together. Um, Again, I feel like it's very situational with these two. If it's not a bridge or underwater underneath to make it look decent, or unless it's just a newbie just trying to trash talk, I think we're gonna put him in. We're gonna put him in usually both of them in. Well, you're used more often. I'm gonna put you from time to time. I don't know. I don't know why you're used less. It's probably because this one has more range, but you're used less. All right, now we're moving on to some objects of classic Sonic simulators. The first thing we got is rings. Most used. You know, rings is literally a component of Sonic. You know, if you don't have any rings, you die. Flicky. Very, very, very rare. I don't see a lot of people use flickies because when you destroy an enemy, a flicky already appears, or you can change it to a flower or a ring. I don't really see a necessity for flickies being an object, to be honest. What is this? Is this a checkpoint? Most used. You need checkpoints in a classic Sonic game. I would assume. If you don't, then yeah, I would assume it's the Kaizo. We have item boxes. Again, we're talking strictly classic Sonic Simulator. Unless the zone is heavy on exploration, you're not gonna really see a lot of item boxes. I'll keep it a buck. The most you'll probably see is 10 ring boxes. I'm gonna say used occasionally. It's not used. It's not the most used. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like a lot of CSS creators do not use item boxes. I could be wrong on that. You know what? I'm gonna put it at the bottom of most used. The bottom of most used. Yeah, bubbles again, situational. Unless it's an underwater zone, you're not really gonna be using bubbles. You can put bubbles on top, like above water, but it's not gonna work. So again, time from time, right? Time for time. Spikes, mostly used or used occasionally. What you guys think? I'm gonna say most used. Probably more used than item boxes, checkpoints, and rings. I ain't gonna lie. Spikes is just a common obstacle. You know what I'm saying? It's very simple. Jump over it or don't jump over it. You know what I'm saying? You can flip them any type of way as well. So W spikes. A launch ramp. That's what we're gonna call it. A launch ramp. These have been kind of, used a lot occasionally. Depending on the stage, I won't say it's situational, but I will say that if you're going a certain speed, you will not be able to activate the jump panel. I'm gonna say from time to time, a lot of people don't use this just because of that thing where if you're going too fast. Personally, me, I like to pass the camera, and if I'm passing the camera and I try to do a jump panel, it's not gonna work because I'm going too fast. So I'm gonna say time from time. Red and yellow springs and dash pads. We're just gonna put both of these and mostly used because a lot of people have been evolving on their formula of their layout. So, and they've been using nothing but springs and dash pads. And I take my hat off to y'all. It's probably more used than the item box. I'm just sorry. I don't think item boxes have been used. All right, next we have spike balls. They're kind of together, like the spike ball chains, the spitting chains, all that. I'm gonna put them together because I don't have all the pictures for it. Again, Kaizo or just a hard zone, you will barely see these. You know what I'm saying? Or a troll zone. You know what I mean? So I say time from time. Time from time. You're barely gonna see these. You're barely gonna. Now, what you see right here is a ring gate. Again, I couldn't get the official picture on Classic Sonic Simulator, but you can either get through these gates if you have 20 rings, 40 rings, 100 rings, or stuff like that. These are barely used. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Barely used, just because unless it's a escape room or a challenge game or a challenge zone, stuff like that, you're barely gonna see these. It doesn't really make sense to put these in a normal zone, so I'm gonna put them in barely. I would say rarely. I'm gonna say rarely because there's not a lot of people that use ring gates as That's something in a normal zone, if that makes sense. Arrows and caution signs. I'm going to say rarely. I feel very confident about these two just because people feel like if you put these two in a game, it does not feel like a Sonic game anymore. Which is a weird controversial because people are bad at Sonic. Classic Sonic to be exact. I put arrows and caution signs just to let them know what's coming in. But personally, I'm not going to use my personal feelings over that. I'm going to go overall. Arrows and caution signs aren't really used that much, so rarely. Master Emerald, rarely used. I don't get the premise of it other than diners. I'll keep it a buck. Other than diners, you do not see Master Emeralds in zones. Bumpers, situational again. I feel like if it's not a casino zone, you're barely gonna see bumpers. Or if someone using a gimmick, I will say barely for bumpers. You barely see bumpers. Same goes with balloons. A lot of people like to use the balloons for Sonic Adventure formula to mix with the classic formula. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm gonna put it in barely because barely people use balloons in their zones. I will put it from time to time. Balloons are kind of used more than bumpers, no cap. Now this is a breakable wall. We're gonna go time from time. Again, situational, but it is used from time to time. If that makes sense, you'll catch a lot of zones from time to time with breakable blocks where you have to spin dash through it. So I'll put it in the middle. Now this is bumper platforms, like the bumper platform that we have in Classic Sonic Simulator. Barely. I couldn't really get a picture of it. Sorry about that, chat, but we barely use those. I barely use those. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna put it in barely though. Flippers, like the pinball flippers. I use them, but I use the back side of it as like a double jump for the wall thing. I think flippers are used also from time to time. You know what I mean? Again, if it's not a pinball zone or if you're not really improvising with the gimmick of a flipper, you're not really going to use a flipper. So we're going to put it from time to time. Next, we have the firewall. A lot of people use this hilariously. I'm going to say used occasionally. Have to be at least a lot of zones every time I hop on CSS. People using the firewall. Like, it's kind of crazy, but it ain't bad. You know, I know how to avoid it. So the firewall is used occasionally. Bridges. Bridges are only used for like loop bridges or like if you really just want a bridge in your zone. I think I'm gonna put it in time to time again, but I'm gonna put it above the spike balls. I feel like that's reasonable. You know what I mean? Pushable block, barely. I would say rarely, but you will catch it sometimes. So barely. If you're using pushable blocks in your zones, and then having me stand on it and then wait, I can't stand. Crushers, I know these are like spike crushers from Marble Zone, but we're just gonna go with the concept of crushers. A lot of people have been using crushers for CSS. A lot of people, I would say most use, but it's not. Let's go used occasionally, and let's put it right in the middle of what do you call that? Ball hog and brain bat. What the crap are these names? A rock. I think these are a rock, not Green Hill rocks, but just rocks in the game. I want to say rarely. I do not see a lot of rocks being used in the game. I'm gonna be honest. I don't. And I'm gonna put rarely, but I'm gonna put it up like above like the flickies and arrows and all that because a lot of people do not use the rocks. Good addition to the game, but a lot of people don't use it. What is this? Oh, these are path swappers. Most used. A lot of people have been using a lot of path swappers because it's the new addition to the game. So I'm gonna put it in the middle. Path swappers have actually been a W to the game. And then courts. I'm gonna put it in rarely. Nobody uses courts. I just felt like, you know, it's basically a block, but moving downwards, that's it. But yep, this is my object tier list, chat. These are the most used occasionally, time from time, and barely and rarely. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like a lot of people use the easier stuff or the stuff that helps us with the gimmicks more than the rarely used stuff like the emeralds and then the arrows and stuff. People don't really use that. I really don't use that, but you know, you guys let me know if you agree with me or not. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, share. Helps out way more than you think it does, for real. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace. You can click the video, you can click subscribe.